to do their local news. We will come back a little later on. We'll certainly come back in the middle of your local news if President Clinton and or Senator Dole come out and speak to the nation. But let's take a look quickly back up there at the big board. The states won tonight by President Clinton by our projections 26. The states won by Mr. Dole 13. The electoral vote 291 for Mr. Clinton and 126 for Mr. Dole. On the Senate, our projection is that the Republican Party will hold the Senate. Our projection is that the Republican Party will hold the House. We expect the President to speak shortly after 11 o'clock in the East. When he does, as I said, we will come back. In the meantime, my thanks to everybody here who has helped us get through this evening so well so far, David Brinkley especially. We'll be back in just a while, as I said, but first of all, we're going to cut away for your local news. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Peter Jennings on behalf of everybody at ABC News at our election headquarters in New York.
ABC News live coverage of the 96 vote will continue after this from our ABC station. This has been a special presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source.
On Chopper 6. Action News, Delaware Valley's leading news program, with Gary Papa, Dave Roberts, and Jim Gardner.
Tuesday night, and the big story in Action News tonight is Election Night 1996, and here are some of the biggest stories of the night. President Bill Clinton has rolled to victory over Bob Dole and Ross Perot, carrying Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware. In New Jersey, Democrat Bob Torricelli has defeated Republican Dick Zimmer in the race for the U.S. Senate seat held by the retiring Democrat Bill Bradley. But the area's biggest congressional showdown between John Fox and Joe Huffle in Montgomery County is still very much up in the air. Now for President Clinton's victory, coming after a long campaign where he consistently held a comfortable lead in the polls. The popular vote totals so far tonight have Clinton well ahead. He has that 50% magic number right now. Perhaps not as far ahead as pre-election polls might have suggested, but in terms of electoral votes, it has been quite an impressive victory for the president, sweeping all 3 states in our area and taking states like Florida and other states that normally go Republican. The crowd in Little Rock started celebrating in earnest just after 9 tonight when ABC News projected the president had enough electoral votes to claim victory. Now they are waiting for the president to emerge to accept his historic victory, and when he does, of course, we will go live to Little Rock, Arkansas. Clinton would be the first Democrat to win 2 presidential elections, in fact now is, since FDR. Senator Dole has returned to Washington, checking into a hotel not too far from Capitol Hill, the site of his past political glories. Despite an earlier leak to the news media that he conceded, his campaign quickly sent out word that Dole had done no such thing. The Republican has just arrived at his campaign headquarters, presumably preparing to officially concede defeat, and we will go there live when that happens. In Pennsylvania, the presidential vote breaks down this way. Bill Clinton with 53% of the vote, Bob Dole 37%, Ross Perot 9%. 4 years ago, Clinton did far under 50% because Perot did almost 20%. Things very different this time around. Clinton the majority winner in Pennsylvania this year. Same situation in New Jersey, where Bill Clinton takes 55% of the popular vote tonight for New Jersey's 15 electoral votes. And in Delaware, for its 3 electoral votes, President Clinton gets 52% of the vote to Bob Dole's 36%, and Ross Perot doing better in Delaware than he did in New Jersey or Pennsylvania. Now, they were saying a switch of 3 seats tonight could shift control of the U.S. Senate from the Republicans to the Democrats, but as you may have heard, ABC News is saying this has not happened. The Senate will remain in Republican hands. Nevertheless, the race to fill Bill Bradley's seat was a critical one indeed, and Bob Torricelli has rather easily defeated Dick Zimmer in this race. Action News reporters Kathy Gandolfo and Nora Mishanek are covering the New Jersey Senate race tonight. Kathy is with Torricelli in Iselin, and Nora is at Zimmer headquarters in West Windsor. First, let's go to Kathy.
Well, Jim, it was not the long night that everyone had expected. The numbers came in early. Dick Zimmer conceded by 9:30, and actually the longest wait came for Bob Torricelli to get down here to his headquarters, where people were anxiously awaiting his arrival. And finally, he did come down. There was thunderous applause and cheering as the congressman entered the room. He thanked everyone and referred to the nasty tenor of this race and asked for change.
There is nothing contradictory in the conflict with ideas, in being civil to each other, respecting each other's views.
Torricelli said that public service can be a respected and a high calling. Bob Torricelli, 45 years old, from Englewood, New Jersey, will succeed Senator Bill Bradley. Reporting live on the Action Cam from Torricelli headquarters, I'm Kathy Gandolfo.
All right, Kathy, now let's go live to Nora Mishanek at Zimmer headquarters in West Windsor. Nora, a disappointing night there, and certainly one that went, I would assume that no one there felt that it would be quite so decisive, quite so quickly.
Oh, no, not at all. Everyone thought this was going to be a nail-biter, but it's turned into more of a wake than a party here tonight, Jim. Zimmer's loss was a big disappointment for Republicans. The congressman didn't prolong the agony, though. He called Torricelli very quickly to concede and came down to talk to his supporters at about 9:30.
I want you all to know that there's no shame in losing, only in not giving it your best. And give it our best is exactly what we did.
Congressman Dick Zimmer said it was clearly not an easy year to be running as a Republican outside the South. In what was billed to be a race too close to call, Zimmer was soundly defeated, but was graceful in his concession speech and said in the end it was a debate not of personalities, but philosophies.
I want to recognize my opponent for his remarkably focused and effective campaign. Bob Torricelli is surely a tough and tireless campaigner, and I congratulate him for his big victory.
If you look at it honestly, I'm not so sure how much of a surprise it was. The Democrat seat has been a Democrat seat for a long time, and with the president doing as well as he did here, and we knew he was probably going to do pretty well in this state, it would have been pretty extraordinary if Dick had pulled this off.
Now, Zimmer gave up his seat in the House of Representatives to run for Senate. It's unclear what he's going to do right now. Perhaps take some time to recover from one of the most expensive and nastiest campaigns in the entire nation. That's the latest from West Windsor. I'm Nora Mishanek, reporting live in the Action Cam. Now back to you, Jim.
Thank you, Nora. Well, let's talk about the House of Representatives. One of the biggest battles this election day involved the U.S. House, where Republicans took control in 1994 for the first time in 4 decades, and it now seems quite certain that Republicans will maintain control of the House of Representatives, perhaps by a smaller margin, but I think one thing seems clear, that Newt Gingrich will continue as the Speaker of the House of Representatives. Let's look at Philadelphia, where the Democrats hold sway. Tom Follietta wins a 9th term in the 1st District. Chaka Fattah goes back for a 2nd term in the 2nd District, and Bob Borski wins his 8th term on Capitol Hill in the 3rd Congressional District. In the suburbs, 2 Republican incumbents have been reelected. Kurt Weldon winning a 6th term in the 7th District in Delaware County, and Jim Greenwood a 3rd term in the 8th up in Bucks County. And in the 16th District in Chester County, they call this also in Lancaster County, Republican Joe Pitts has defeated Democrat James Blaine. Pitts will replace the retiring Republican veteran Richard Walker. On the local congressional race that has drawn the most attention here and across the country as far as this area is concerned, we're talking about Montgomery County's 13th District, where freshman Republican John Fox has been trying to stave off a serious challenge from County Commissioner Joe Huffle. And as you can see, we look at these numbers and they continue to be as dramatic as they have been throughout the evening. Still, 51% of the precincts reporting, and Huffle with a razor-thin lead over John Fox, and we expect these numbers to increase from the standpoint of getting more precincts reporting very shortly, so we should have an update on this race before too long. John Rollins is at Fox headquarters in Bluebell. Brennan Odom with Huffle campaign in Norristown. First, let's go to the Fox headquarters and John Rollins.
Well, Jim, a short while ago, Congressman Fox came out here and said, we are ahead by a little. Keep praying. Well, with us right now is Congressman Fox, and I presume you have kept praying here.
Oh, we have prayer groups of every denomination in each corner of the room.
Okay, let me ask you, do you still think your people all night long have said you're going to pull ahead here and you're going to win? Do you still think that's the case?
Well, it's hopeful. We certainly would like to, John.
You don't sound quite as confident as earlier.
Well, I have no way of knowing any new figures. I mean,
I'm feeling the dead heat.
I feel that the people of Montgomery County I could always count on them. So I'm hoping that the final tally will still have us on top.
Your margin last time was about 8,000 votes over Marjorie Margolis-Kwasinski. Do you think you're going to be able to come close to that?
I don't think we're going to have a total close to that. I'm just hopeful we'll have a total where we're over 50% plus one.
Fair enough, fair enough. Well, that's the situation here, Jim, at the Fox headquarters. They are keeping their fingers crossed and figure it's going to be a long night. I'm John Rollins, live on the Action Cam in Bluebell.
Thank you, John. I figure we'll all be around for a while keeping track of this one. And that includes Vernon Odom, who was with the Huffle campaign in Norristown. Vernon?
Jim, you can, the crowd here heard Mr. Fox's reservations saying he's keeping his fingers crossed, meaning that this race is very close. That's the same philosophy people are taking here. I have with me now Marcel Groen, the chairman of the Democratic Party in Montgomery County. Mr. Groen, Mr. Fox is very conservative, saying he hopes, but he's not sure yet. What do you say? What do you hear at this point? What do you see in the trend?
We're cautiously optimistic. Right now, the numbers are exactly what they were when Marjorie was running 4 years ago, when we won the seat by 1,400. So if that holds, and so far we've got less than 100 precincts left to go. If that holds, we're going to win, but it's going to be very close.
But most of those are Republican strongholds.
Yeah, right now our numbers have us up by 6,000 votes with about 95 districts left to go. We think that'll come down, but it looks like it can hold hopefully around 1,015 to 2,000 votes.
So thank you very much, Marcel Groen. That is how narrow and how tight this race is tonight. Huffle's headquarters full of people very happy, but no champagne, no cigars yet. Vernon Odom, Channel 6 Action News, reporting live. Jim?
Thank you, Vernon. And we said a minute ago that we should have new numbers in the Fox Huffle race soon, and soon ended up being about 2 minutes. Now, 71% of the vote counted, and 1,490 votes separates John Fox from Joe Huffle. Fox now taking a lead of almost 1,500 votes, with almost 3/4 of the vote counted. We will continue to watch this closely. In New Jersey, 3 incumbents, 1 a Democrat, 2 Republicans, have won re-election. In the 1st District, Democrat Rob Andrews, elected to a 4th term. Of course, Andrews is considering and has publicly acknowledged considering a run for governor of New Jersey, considering taking on Christie Whitman next year. Republican Jim Saxton wins a 7th term in the 3rd District, and in the 4th, Republican Chris Smith, at 43 years old, goes back to Congress for a 9th term. He was a young congressman when he started. The high-profile contest in South Jersey was in the 2nd, where another freshman Republican, Frank Lobiondo, was challenged by Democrat Ruth Katz. Lobiondo winning tonight with no problem. Action News New Jersey correspondent Joe Torres is live from Lobiondo headquarters in Vineland. Joe?
Good evening to you, Jim. Yes, unlike the congressional races in Pennsylvania, this one here in South Jersey was not even close. At the North Italy Club, the party is over. The well-wishers have gone home. Frank Lobiondo returning to Washington for yet another term. Lobiondo, a Vineland native here at the North Italy Club, was surrounded by supporters. He easily defeated his Democratic opponent, Ruth Katz of Ventnor. Was never any question about it. As soon as the polls closed, he jumped out to an early lead and held on to the very, very end. And right now, Frank Lobiondo says his goal is simply to pick up right where he left off.
The business owners of this district do not do it once in a while. You do it every day, day in and day out, all year long, year in and year out. And that's what the federal government's going to have to do. And that's why balancing the budget will remain my top priority.
Ruth Katz conceded victory at about 9:30, simply with a phone call to Mr. Lobiondo to offer her congratulations. He responded with a thank you, and that was it, Jim. During this campaign, Katz attacked Lobiondo's record, saying that the voters here in South Jersey were not happy with the direction that he was leading the district. As we can easily see, that apparently was not the case. I'm Joe Torres, live on the Action Cam in Vineland, New Jersey.
Thank you, Joe. Now let's focus on the diamond state of Delaware. Delaware voters today electing a congressman, a senator, and a governor. Joe Biden goes back for a 5th term, beating businessman Ray Clatworthy. In the governor's race, Tom Carper wins a 2nd term with a decisive win over Janet Reznicki. And in the congressional battle for Delaware's lone seat, Representative Mike Castle will go back for a 3rd term, having defeated Dennis Williams. There it is, 70% of the vote for Castle tonight. Now, with more on the voting in Delaware, let's go to Delaware correspondent Lauren Wilson, who is at a gathering of Delaware Democrats in Wilmington. Lauren?
Jim, this has been a very big night for incumbents in Delaware, particularly Democratic incumbents. As you said, U.S. Senator Joe Biden won big, as did Governor Tom Carper. Now, both men received congratulatory calls from President Bill Clinton tonight, and both candidates thanked their supporters. Carper took time to thank his wife, Martha. As you'll recall, associates of Carper's opponent, Janet Reznicki, accused the governor of beating his wife.
And in the face of some of the worst political dirty tricks that the state of Delaware has ever seen, Martha showed what real grace and real dignity under pressure and under fire are.
So, ladies and gentlemen, it's with a great deal of enthusiasm and a great deal of pride that I am anxious to go back as your United States Senator, and I want to thank you all again very, very much.
Another incumbent who won big tonight was Mayor Jim Sills. He just got into the room. He's addressing the crowd now, thanking them for his support. He beat out Brad Zuber, getting more than 60% of the vote. I'm Lauren Wilson, reporting live on the Action Cam at Democratic headquarters.
Thank you, Lauren, and let's show you exactly the numbers now in the Sills-Zuber race. Still 16% of the vote counted, not much, but Jim Sills will be an easy winner over Brad Zuber tonight. Sills on his way to a 2nd term at Wilmington City Hall. We will have much more election coverage to come on Action News tonight. The results in all the key local races also coming up. An important vote tonight in Center City, Philadelphia. It could end the strike by the Philadelphia Orchestra. The Sixers tried Pennsylvania voters deciding on 3 statewide offices today in the race for Pennsylvania Attorney General. Devon's Joe Cohn, a private attorney who has never held significant public office, defeats State Representative Mike Fisher from Pittsburgh, 52-46. Some would consider this something of a surprise. A big victory for Joe Cohn tonight. In the race for Auditor General, no surprise here. Another Casey, now involved in statewide politics in Pennsylvania. Yes, he is former Governor Casey's son, and he takes the job that his father had that catapulted him into the governor's office in Pennsylvania. Bob Casey Jr. will be the next Auditor General in Pennsylvania. And in the race for Pennsylvania Treasurer, Mina Baker-Knoll, the daughter of Catherine Baker-Knoll, has defeated current Auditor General Barbara Hafer, who could not run for a 3rd term by virtue of restrictions in the Pennsylvania Constitution. And right now, Barbara Hafer leaves public office. I think Christy Whitman made a very interesting point just a few minutes ago live on our air when she said that it would have been very difficult for Dick Zimmer in New Jersey to win given the success of Bill Clinton in New Jersey tonight. Clearly, some of these local candidates, or congressional candidates, if you will, have benefited from the president's success.
Along with those 3 statewide candidates you just mentioned in Pennsylvania. Now, our ABC exit polls have showed us some very strong feelings which motivated all the voters in our tri-state area today. For example, Bob Dole lost virtually every demographic group. He lost young, old, black, white, male, female. The only one he won was white men. Now, looking here at minorities, the president was stronger now among minorities than 4 years ago. 20% of the New Jersey voters today, 24% in New Jersey are black, Jewish, or Hispanic, and look how they voted. Blacks, 91-6 for Clinton. Jewish voters, 81-16 for Clinton. Hispanics, 76-18 for President Clinton. Clearly, the issues that move these voters, civil rights, welfare, child care, the president carried the day. Now look at the gender gap. In Pennsylvania, Mr. Clinton carried the male vote by 5%. The male vote by 5%, the female vote by 16%. In New Jersey, the president carried men by 16%, women by 21%. And in Delaware, the president won men by 10%, women by 16%. And for what it's worth, the myth that Republicans are all rich was given a boost tonight. The only income group that went for Bob Dole in Pennsylvania and New Jersey was people who earn over $100,000 a year. That's about 2% of the population. That is not much of a base for winning the presidency. To make a long story short, Bill Clinton won it all in the tri-state area. In New Jersey, he clearly helped Bob Torricelli. The governor's right.
Mark, we will have more on tonight's results coming up in just a few minutes, and we will keep on top of any late election developments as they happen, and of course that includes the 13th district in Montgomery County. Now, we have because he has entered the room. Arizona Senator John McCain to his right, Elizabeth Dole to his left, and thousands of cheering supporters saluting a man who left the Senate to run for president against an incumbent Democrat, Bill Clinton, and tonight Bob Dole has lost. And it may take a moment or two before he is able to say thank you and to issue the last words of this, his last campaign. Let's listen for just a moment.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. You know, I was, just thinking on the way down. Yeah. I was thinking on the way downstairs. Yeah. Thank you. I was just thinking on the way downstairs. I was thinking on the way down in the elevator, tomorrow will be the first time in my life I don't have anything to do. But I wanted to come down and thank all of you. You've done a great job, and I'm very proud of Trent. We're going to keep the Senate. We're going to keep the House. We're going to... Thank you. Thank you, Bob. 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 Thank you. Thank you, Bob. Thank you very much. Let me say that I've talked to President Clinton. We had a good visit, and I congratulated him. And I've said, wait a minute. Now, I've said repeatedly, I've said repeatedly in this campaign that the president is my opponent, not my enemy, and I wish him well, and I pledge my support in whatever advances the cause of a better America, because that's what the race was about in the first place, a better America as we go into the next century. And I'm very proud also of my teammate, Jack Kemp. I've talked to Jack, and I've thanked Jack Kemp. And I want to thank not only Jack, but his wife, Joanne, who did an outstanding job, and all the Kemp family for the work they did in this campaign. And obviously, I want to thank two outstanding women. My daughter, Robin, who did a great job. And, of course, my wife, Elizabeth, who's traveled this country. other. In fact, they've both been with me in this 96-hour marathon, and we had a great time. We had great crowds and a lot of enthusiasm. At 3 o'clock this morning, I guess it was, we're in Independence, Missouri, and I never saw so many people in one place so excited about the Republican Party. And let me say a special word. Let me say a special word to all the young Americans and the young people who were involved in my campaign. You've been a constant source of inspiration for Elizabeth and myself. But I might add, you're not going to get that tax cut if you don't be quiet. Yeah. And I would say to the young people and all the others involved, it's a lot more fun winning. It hurts to lose an election, but stay involved and keep fighting the good fight because you are the ones who will make the 21st century the next American century. And I don't want anybody to pass out here, but I also want to thank all the media who traveled with me on the plane. And all my friends. No, come on. No, come on. Come on. All of my friends, and we have many friends in the media, and they were there every day, every night, every day, and every night as we flew around this country. And we met hundreds and thousands of good people all across America who want a better America and will continue to working for a better America. And as I looked around tonight and I came in, I saw a lot of very special people who've been helping me for the last 10, 15, 20, 25 years. And I say thank you for all you've done, because I know your support. Because I know that because of your support, I am still the most optimistic man in America.
Bob Dole repeating a theme that he sounded at the convention in San Diego. He said he was an optimistic American then, and he continues to say it now. Bob Dole, with grace and with dignity, the kind of grace and dignity that he has often shown in the well of the United States Senate as a great conciliator and compromiser, and a man who brought both sides together in the Senate tonight, wishing Bill Clinton well and thanking his supporters to wish them well, and leaves public life for the first time after decades and decades of public service in Washington. Still to come on Action News tonight, Dave Roberts will have that AccuWeather forecast, and we'll have much more when we continue in just a moment.
Smooth. Now, here's Jim Gardner.
Hello and welcome again. This is a special edition of Action News, but we begin it with Dave Roberts and the AccuWeather forecast. David. Waits for Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, perhaps Chelsea Clinton, and they know it's coming soon because we have now heard from Bob Dole, and we also have heard from Jack Kemp. Jack Kemp has talked to his supporters just a few minutes ago, and so the stage is set for Bill Clinton to come out and to claim his prize of the presidency for a second term. It has been a night to remember for Bill Clinton, rolling over Bob Dole. Clinton becomes the first Democrat to be elected to 2 full terms since Franklin Roosevelt. Of course, Roosevelt had more than 2. Bill Clinton will have to be satisfied with 2. Democrats are also celebrating a big win tonight for Bob Torricelli in the New Jersey Senate race. He succeeds Bill Bradley. But the biggest congressional race in this area, the Montgomery County race between Republican incumbent John Fox and Democrat Joe Huffell, is still much too close to call. Now, let's check the latest numbers in the race for president. Are we going to do that now in our area? We're going to get those numbers up if we possibly can. And what's interesting here is that this year, it looks like in at least one or two of the cases, Bill Clinton should have 50% or more, but not so far in... Oh, this is the national vote. I'm sorry. This is the national vote. 49% to 41% for Bob Dole and 8% for Ross Perot. Now, about an hour ago, Bill Clinton had 50% of the popular vote nationwide, and that's a magic number here because, as you recall, he only had 43% of the vote 4 years ago, and much was made of the fact that he was a president with much less than half of the vote, a minority president, if you will. The Clinton folks would love to register 50% or more of the popular vote tonight, but of course it is questionable as to whether they can do that or not. Only because Ross Perot has done so much more poorly this year than 4 years ago does Clinton have a shot. If you recall, 4 years ago, Ross Perot got something like 19% of the national popular vote. This year down to 8%, and so Clinton is trying as hard as he can to get to that 50% number. We will have to wait and see. That is the national vote, the Electoral College vote. 367 votes so far for Bill Clinton. I don't know that the West Coast has reported yet. I'm not sure if the 54 electoral votes from California have reported yet. Now you're saying that Clinton has California, so that includes the 54 Electoral College votes from California. Bob Dole, 129 electoral votes. Ross Perot, none. That is the Electoral College vote number up to the moment, of course, 270, the number needed to win. Now, just a short time ago, Bob Dole came down to talk with his supporters in a hotel in Washington. He noted for the first time in many, many years, he realized he now had nothing to do when he wakes up tomorrow morning. Dole said President Clinton had called him, and he called the president his opponent, but not his enemy. Dole said he was also proud of the fact that Republicans appear to be maintaining control of the House and Senate, and indeed they are doing that. Reform Party candidate Ross Perot conceded at about 10:40 tonight in Dallas, but he said his concession does not mean he plans to fade into the woodwork.
We must set the highest ethical and moral standards for the people who serve in our government, and all of that has got to be changed from rules to laws in the next 4 years, and we're going to have to stand at the gate and keep the pressure on, and we will. Now,
Perot said that he will make campaign finance reform a particular crusade. Now let's get reaction from the Pennsylvania Republicans and Democrats. Monica Malpass at Clinton headquarters in Philadelphia, the Convention Center, and Flora Pastorello at Dole headquarters in Harrisburg. First, let's go to Monica.
Good evening again, Jim, and the spirit of excitement, as you can hear, is still palpable here at the Convention Center. Many of these folks, of course, assumed that a Clinton win in Pennsylvania was a fait accompli, but when the numbers came in, they were more excited than ever. President Clinton garnered 78% of the vote in the city of Philadelphia. That is 10% more than he got in '92, and these workers are obviously very proud. Early word 3 hours ago. Many were volunteers who helped get out the votes.
Well, I believe that he's a good man for the job.
As a mother and a teacher, it's just very important for America to take care of the future, and Clinton is the man to do it.
I think he's presented a good program, and I was interested in what he was saying. It made sense to me, and I think that the citizens of Pennsylvania will be happy with him as the president.
Even the Philly fanatic was partying tonight, and guess who tried the Macarena? Yes, Philadelphia Mayor Ed Rendell giving it a pretty good shot there. The party faithful plan to dance their way across Bill Clinton's bridge to the 21st century. And among the Democrats, who is also a winner, joining me live now is the new state attorney general for Pennsylvania. He is Joe Cohn, just having defeated Mike Fisher. Mr. Cohn, thank you for joining us, and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Big night for you. Are you surprised? It was a bit of an upset for a few folks, I suppose. They didn't know that you would win that one.
Well, it's a result of a lot of hard work by a lot of people across Pennsylvania who really are fed up with the kind of attorney general's office we've had in this state. Felt it was time for a clean break and to have a real change in the office of attorney general.
Right. The attorney general's office has been under fire for several years now. How do you hope to change that? What new ideas and fresh thoughts do you plan to bring to the office?
Well, this is an office that's supposed to be the people's lawyer and the people's advocate. It should stand up to public corruption instead of being corrupted itself. should take on the special interest instead of being beholden to the special interest. And that's what my campaign has been all about. And I'm looking forward to the challenge, getting to work.
All right, your new Attorney General in the state of Pennsylvania, thank you very much. Nice to see you. And that's it from here. We are live reporting from the Convention Center in Center City. Back to you, Jim.
Thank you, Monica. Now we go to Harrisburg and Flora Pastorero with Bob Dole headquarters. Very quiet there right now, Flora.
Very quiet indeed, Jim. The party is over here at Dole State headquarters in Harrisburg. You know, there weren't many supporters here to begin with, and look at this, Jim. This room is empty. No one is here. The folks cleared out a long time ago. The signs have come down, a stark contrast to what is going on at the Clinton rally in Philadelphia. Now, a few hours ago, Pennsylvania Governor Tom Ridge was here. He thanked the supporters for standing behind Bob Dole. He said that Dole fought a good fight, and he said that President Clinton was reelected on Republican themes.
He's bragging about reducing the deficit. If he'd have had his way, the deficit had gone up. The Republicans made sure that those discretionary programs didn't grow out of control. He ran on a lot of Republican themes, and at the end of the day, he prevailed. So we acknowledge that. You believe in the democratic process.
Now, this marks a sad ending to Bob Dole's political career, having served in both the U.S. House and Senate since 1961. This was Dole's third failed attempt to win the White House, and it is unlikely that he will try again in 4 years. I'm Flora Pastorero reporting live on the Action Cam from Dole State headquarters in Harrisburg. Jim?
Thank you, Flora. Of course, the first two defeats for Bob Dole coming in the primaries. Now, Pennsylvania voters were electing a new Attorney General, a new Auditor General, and a new Treasurer today. We just heard from the Attorney General-elect, Joe Cohn, and he defeats Mike Fisher of Pittsburgh by a rather decisive margin. I think this is a surprise to many political experts from across the state, and it isn't every day that someone from Philadelphia beats someone from Pittsburgh in a statewide race. But there it is, Joe Cohn, the Attorney General-elect in Pennsylvania. Now, in the state Auditor General's race, Bob Casey Jr. was expected to win easily over Bob Nice, and he does. And in the race for Pennsylvania Treasurer, perhaps something of a surprise as Mina Baker Knoll defeats longtime, well-known Pennsylvania Republican Barbara Hafer. Barbara Hafer, a two-term Auditor General, an unsuccessful candidate for governor, and tonight an unsuccessful candidate for Pennsylvania Treasurer, as Mina Baker Knoll, a very famous name in Pennsylvania. Of course, her mother, Catherine Baker Knoll, had this job for 2 successive terms, and she now hands it down to her daughter. Mina Baker Knoll will be the treasurer of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. More on the '96 election, the New Jersey Senate race, election analysis, and more as this special election night edition of Action News continues. Of Arkansas, and he has emerged now to claim his second term. President Clinton winning tonight. And he comes out to the strains of Hail to the Chief.
The Vice President of the United States, Mrs. Gore, and the Gore family.
And now he'll be joined by Vice President Al Gore, Tipper Gore, and their children to the strains of orchestrated music. This is not just a victory speech, but something of a ceremony, something of a victory ceremony, unlike what we would normally see. Almost like the same staged feeling that you would see at a Democratic convention. But tonight it's the end, it's the victory. I'm sitting here with Mark Howard. Why don't we turn on Mark's microphone so we can converse about this just a little bit, Mark?
You could almost guess that they had expected to win. This is very well planned.
No
Yes.
kidding.
One could guess that.
It is reminiscent of the convention in Chicago in the month of August, but tonight it is the big prize, and when we look at this picture, it begins to bring to mind a number of important issues that Democrats are beginning to think about tonight all over the country. It's a cruel thing to say, but many people would say it's true, that the first day of a second term is the beginning of a lame duck president. And without another election to win, the power begins to shift away from a second-term president, and the man who is holding his hand, Al Gore, is someone who many people think would would be the best candidate in the year 2000. And here is where we now have to acknowledge that there is a split in the Democratic Party between liberal and centrist and conservative, and someone like Dick Gephardt, who still would like to think of himself as an old liberal Democrat, might contest the fact that Al Gore is the heir apparent. But while we sit and have Democrats bask in the glow of all of this, believe me when I tell you that the political analysts, even as we watch this, are beginning to think about these kinds of things, as are people like Al Gore and Democrats all over the country. And in fact, it will be Al Gore who begins this victory ceremony tonight. He's been setting the stage for President Clinton now for over 4 years and will continue to do so tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us this evening. Before I present the President, I would like to thank the people who made this glorious evening possible. My wife, Tipper, who has campaigned from one end of the country and back again with flair and passion. My 4 children, Corinna, Kristen, Sarah, and Albert, who have filled our lives with love and our hearts with pride. I would like to thank my parents, who have set a standard of excellence and integrity in public service that has always inspired me. My brother-in-law, Frank Hunger, a wise and trusted friend. On behalf of the President and myself, I'd like to thank Peter Knight, the best campaign manager ever, and a campaign staff that worked harder and more effectively than any in history. And on a personal note, I would like to thank the people of my home state of Tennessee for giving us a victory this evening. And may I say, on behalf of Tipper and myself, to a very dear friend, and on behalf of millions of families in villages throughout our land, a very special thank you to a woman who has faced extraordinary pressures with grace, dignity, and an unbreakable commitment to serving our nation, America's First Lady, Hillary Rodham Clinton. A few blocks from here, in the summer of 1992, then Governor Bill Clinton asked me to be his running mate. It has been my great privilege to work by his side these past 4 years, and I want you to know I have gotten to know him as very few others have. I have seen him lift and carry burdens of unimaginable weight, day after day after day. I've heard him ask over and over again, what is right for the American people? I've seen him stand hour upon hour, comforting American families who have lost loved ones in natural disasters, wretched acts of terror, and in service to our country. I've seen him go on working for the American people from before dawn to well after midnight, however difficult the challenge, however towering the obstacles, however long the odds. That takes strength. That takes vision. That takes leadership. That takes character. The Bible says, by their fruits ye shall know them. On this night 4 years ago, on this very spot, I said we felt good having won an election, but even better at having been granted the chance to change a country. Much has changed since we last gathered here, and it has changed because of the resolve and determination of the American people under Bill Clinton's leadership. Under President Bill Clinton, we have forged a new prosperity, putting our financial house in order while restarting the great American jobs machine. We have deepened our ethic of environmental stewardship and redoubled our commitment to protecting God's creation. We have secured our place in the world by helping to bring peace and reconciliation to lands scarred by hatred's savage hand, and by speeding the spread of democracy and free markets across the globe. We have moved to redeem the promise of representative democracy by reinventing the processes of self-government to make them work better and cost less. And we have begun the task of restoring faith and responsibility to the American community by keeping our streets safe and our values secure. Under Bill Clinton, the United States of America is not just better off, it's better. Now, 4 years later, we again celebrate a victory. But what we savor much more is the opportunity you have given us once again to lift our country higher still. And from where we stand tonight, we can now see the shimmering rays of light that signal the dawn of the 21st century. We see an America that is preparing and empowering all of its people and giving them opportunities to succeed. We see an America in which success does not